How's everyone doing? I'm really excited to be back this week. I've gotten such great feedback actually from you guys the last couple weeks on the series, How to Get Everything That You Want in 2019. This is actually video 3 of the series, and I'm really excited about this one because I think it's something that a lot of people kind of shy away from talking about, and I don't think we need to. I think it's something that's really exciting, and by, you know, holding back on it, we're actually just holding back on how big of an impact we can make. So I'm really excited to chat with you guys about sales today. So in video 3, we're talking all about the truth about sales and why you might not be hitting your sales targets right now. And I'm also talking about, some really important things, the only really important things in my opinion that you need to know in order to sell to your ideal client, as well as how to become known in your niche. If you want to be known for something as a brand, this is what you need to start working on. And I'm going to be kind of breaking down a few really important things, but most importantly, what I'm going to be talking about is how to start selling on a grander scale without ever feeling like icky, or because I talked to a lot of people who are like, I feel like I'm being too salesy right now. And that is literally the exact opposite of how I want anyone to feel, because talking about what you do in your business should never make you feel like that guy from ShamWow, should never make you feel like a car salesman. Like, there should be literally nothing sleazy about it. So if you are ever starting to feel like that, I want you to leave me a comment and let me know if you've ever felt like what you're doing is too salesy. And I'm going to talk about how to avoid that, how to fix that, and how to prevent it entirely. So if you are joining live, let me know who you are by just leaving me a little comment, because I can't see who joins unless you leave me a comment. So let me know who you are and maybe even what your business is, so that I can find out a little bit more about you and tailor some of this conversation to you and your business. And if you're catching the replay, like I know so many of you are, just leave me a hashtag replay again so I can see who's watching and who's kind of coming along this journey with us, because we're already in week 3 of 5, which is really, really exciting. So, speaking of sales, one of the most important things that you need to know when you are selling is getting really epically clear on your ideal client. So a lot of people think sales has a lot to do with what your programs are, what your services are, what your offers are, but what it actually has to do with entirely is who your ideal client is. So first and foremost, before you do anything else in your business, you're solving a problem for a really, really, really specific person. And this should be the type of person that you're like super excited to work with. And I think it's really important to find kind of a middle ground, or like where the Venn diagram kind of overlaps, of the person that you're really, really excited to work with and that you would love to kind of hang out with all the time, as well as where it meets with things that you are epically good at. So this is where your natural talents are, where your skills lie, and this is not something that you have to really try too hard at. I want you to know what are your like core skills, and a lot of times that takes some self-discovery and working with a few clients before you actually figure that out. But those are 2 things that you need to keep in mind as you answer all of these questions. And so the things that I think are really important when you're figuring out who your ideal client is and how you can solve a problem for them are really 4 main questions. And these are questions that I have all of my clients answer, and I answer them for every new offer or program that I put out, because I think it's so important to know really clearly and also really specifically what the answers are to these questions. So let me just dive into them, and I'm going to tell you each and everything that you need to know, and then I'm going to give you some examples. I think today what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the example of somebody who might be joining my program called Your Most Profitable Quarter Yet, which is one of my favorite programs, and I'm going to use some of the examples that I came up with while I was creating that program, so you can get a feel for, like you answering these questions in practice. But of course, depending on your business, your answers are going to change, right? So the first question that you need to ask yourself and you need to get really specific on are, what are the amazing outcomes that somebody would get after they work with you? this sounds pretty simple and we should all know what the outcomes are of working with you, but I want you to get super, super specific here for your ideal client. So not just they're going to make more money. Maybe that's something that would happen after somebody went through my program. But more importantly, there's really more specific things that I want to touch on that hit home even a little bit harder for my ideal client. So the more specific you are, the more someone thinks like, oh, this is meant for me. The more broad you are, you might think that you're actually leaving the door open for more people to, resonate with it. But what you're actually doing is leaving the door open for more people to be like, it could be for me, but that's not really what's going on for me. So I want you to get super specific. And I'll give you a few examples of what amazing outcomes somebody would get if they went through my program. So one thing is that they would have a crystal clear plan of action. And so, this person would know their exact next steps that they need to take in order to create their most profitable quarter yet, obviously. Another really specific outcome that they're going to have is they're going to know how to grow their email list. This is really important, and I know it's something that a lot of my ideal clients really want to know more about, and they know that they need in their life. So the first question that you need to answer is, what are the really, really amazing outcomes of working with you? And this is going to help you later on down the line when you're thinking of, what does somebody get if they work with me? And this is going to help you in your sales copy, on your sales pages, all of that stuff. So make sure you know the amazing outcomes of working with you. If somebody who's here could type that in the comments, that would be awesome. So question number 1, what's an amazing outcome of working with you? Then we're going to move on to question number 2. And this is one that I think, really makes a big difference, and it's not something that a lot of people talk about. So question number 2 that you need to ask yourself are, create a giant list. What's a giant list of things that my ideal client is scared that they have to do in order to get the amazing outcomes that you just talked about? So these are things that they don't want to do, and you need to know these really clearly, because you need to tell them, hey, you're going to get these amazing outcomes, and even better, you don't have to do those things that you don't want to do. You know what I mean? You need to make those clear, and you need to understand that those are actually selling features for your ideal client. So I'm going to give you some examples of this. So these are things that you can tell someone, you're going to get this result without having to do this thing. So in my case, something that my ideal client really doesn't want to do in order to grow her email list and in order to have, to grow her influence, is to run Facebook ads. She right now does not want to run Facebook ads. And I totally get that. In the beginning of running my business, I did not have any money to give to Mark Zuckerberg, but I knew that I had to grow my email list. So one thing that I can say to my client is, I'm going to teach you how to grow your email list without using Facebook ads. That's a really awesome selling feature for somebody who doesn't want to use Facebook ads. Another thing that they're really worried that they might have to do if they're working with me is that they might have to follow a strict schedule. And this is something that my ideal client does not want to do. And I know this about them really intimately because I talk to so many of them who think that, following a strict schedule is just not going to work with them. And I talk about having a calendar all the time, and I talk about productivity and being more organized. And so a lot of people think, what I'm going to make them do is have a really strict schedule that doesn't move and flex with their life. And so I make sure that I mention that in all of my sales copy so people understand that they can still have the result that they want, which is to have a crystal clear plan of action, to feel really organized, but they don't have to do the thing that they don't want, which is to have a strict schedule, because I get it. And they don't want to have that. So my program has been created without that being a part of it. So that's question number 2. Write that down. Things that they're scared that they have to do in order to get that amazing result. Really spend your time there. This is important. All right. Then the next question that you want to ask yourself are reasons that they think they can't. Now, this is where we start getting into things that I see a lot of people shy away from. And this is because these things can seem kind of negative. And I do not stand for like fear-mongering type of selling. I don't think that that's I just don't think that that's the way to do it, and so that's my personal preference. So I do not stand for that, and I am not recommending that. However, you need to understand certain pain that your ideal client has right now, and I want you to think of it like you're a doctor. If you go to the doctor and you are describing things that you want. I want to get fit. I want to, you know, feel better. And the adjuster starts asking you, okay, so I hear that you want to get fit. Do you have any trouble, you know, with headaches, or do you have any trouble, you know, like getting out of bed in the morning? Your doctor understands those pain points and knows that those are important to you. And by him pointing those out, or her pointing those out, you instantly trust them even more. And so I want you to be the doctor in this situation. So you need to ask yourself, what are the reasons or the insecurities that my ideal client has that they think they cannot have the outcome that they ultimately want, or the outcome that you are going to give to them when they work with you? And so I'll give you some examples of why my ideal client thinks that they can't have the things that I like, my awesome outcomes. So if you remember, my awesome outcomes are having a crystal clear plan of action and knowing exactly how to achieve their biggest goals in the next quarter, as well as having list growth. So they want to grow their email list. And so reasons they think that they can't have that are because a lot of my ideal clients are queens of procrastination. They think, I can't, you know, accomplish all of this stuff in a quarter because I am a procrastinator and I keep putting things off, and all the time, you know, I say I'm going to do something and then I don't actually end up doing it, and my week, you know, disappears and I don't even know what I accomplished that week. I know that that happens with my ideal client, and by me talking about that, I'm not making her feel shitty about that being, you know, like part of her life. I'm letting her know that I understand that that's one of her problems, or one of her insecurities, and I'm actually going to create solutions so that that doesn't stand in her way anymore. By me bringing that up, she trusts me even more, because she knows that I understand what it's like to procrastinate, because I'm also a procrastinator. But also, even if you're not, and that isn't like, you know, your story, you can still let your client know, like, I understand. I've worked with people who procrastinate all the time. I understand what it's like to be like that. So I've created ways for you to bust through that procrastination. Another example of something that, you know, a reason that they think they can't have what they want is because a lot of my clients are dreamers or free spirits. So this comes back to the same thing. They don't want to have a strict schedule, but a lot of these people are really creative. They got a lot of big ideas, and they just don't want to feel like they have to worry about the, you know, the more details of being productive. And so I make sure that I address that in all of my sales copy. I let them know this program is for people who are free spirits, who are creatives, and who don't want a strict schedule. This program is actually built for people who have really big ideas but have trouble turning them into really solid, crystal clear plans of action. So see how I'm kind of breaking down all of those barriers? One thing that I really don't believe in personally in my sales tactics is overcoming objections. I don't believe in getting on a call with someone and them saying, you know, I don't think this is going to work for me because I don't have any money, and me saying, well, maybe you should take out a line of credit. That's not part of my sales strategy, and no shade to anybody who's, you know, strategy that is, but that's not what I do. However, what I do is before I ever allow them to start bringing up those objections, I like to just clear them out of the way right ahead of time. Work that into your sales. You don't have to overcome objections after you've done the selling. Do it while you sell. Make them feel really comfortable and confident in what you're offering, and make sure that they know that this is designed specifically for them. And the way that you do that is by understanding what amazing outcomes they get by working with you, by understanding the things that they're scared that they have to do and they don't want to do, so that you can tell them, hey, guess what? You don't have to do them. As well as understanding the reasons, the things that they feel like are holding them back, or the insecurities that they have that are going to prevent them from getting the thing that they want. And that's really, really, really important. And now I'm going to go on to the last question. And again, this is where a lot of people shy away from it because they don't want to go negative. And I don't believe in going negative. However, I do believe that it's so important for you to understand the current things that the current things that your ideal client is really, really struggling with right now. This is so important. So these are the things that keep them up at night. These are the things that they're laying in bed and they're worrying about. You know, I don't know if anybody has, you know, felt this like anxiety feeling where you wake up suddenly at 3 a.m. and like that's the time when your brain is like the worst. That's the time when your brain starts telling you those things like, oh my God, I'm never going to be successful. Or, oh my God, you know, I just don't think I have what it takes to be an entrepreneur. Or, oh my God, I'm a bad sister. Like any of those things start coming up at like 3 a.m. Hey Kelly, hey girl. I understand understand, because I've been there, that we all have those things, those insecurities, those like current fears in our life and pain points, things that we're struggling with as it's related to your signature offer. And I want you to understand your client and have enough empathy for them to know those things and be able to make them feel like those things are okay and you're going to work through them together. So I want you to ask yourself, what are the current things that they're struggling with, and the things that keep them up at night? And again, this is where I want you to get intimate details of what your ideal client actually feels. The more specific you get, the more you become the doctor in the situation, and the more they trust you. So some examples in my case, things that my ideal client I know keeps them up at night and I know makes them feel like they, you know, maybe just aren't cut out for this whole entrepreneurship thing, is that they're constantly overwhelmed and they don't want to feel overwhelmed all the time. They didn't, you know, quit their job to become an entrepreneur, so they constantly felt overwhelmed and overworked and you know, like overstretched. So that's something I know that they really are struggling with. Another thing is that they, you know, are not actually bringing all of their big goals to life. So maybe they might lay in bed at night and think, I have all these amazing ideas and I keep writing them all in my journals and, you know, telling people that I'm going to do these amazing things, but I never actually bring them to life. And that's something that feels terrible. And I'm here to say, guess what? It's the people like you who have those epic goals, who have a notebook full of dreams, who have those genius ideas that I want to work with, because I want to bring those to life, and by giving you a crystal clear plan of action. Another thing that they might be struggling with is maybe not having the impact that they desire. And I think this one relates to a lot of people in a lot of different niches, or maybe not living up to their fullest potential. That's something that I see with a lot of people as well. And that's something that is, you know, a huge struggle and something that none of us want to feel. And so you need to know those things so that you can convey to your client that you understand what it's like to feel like this, either by you having felt it before and telling that as part of your story, or by one of your clients feeling like that and you showing how one of your clients has overcome that very you know, scary thing in their life and actually had that dream outcome that you know your ideal client wants. And so once you have I like to create bullet point lists for all of these, like create 4 different pages and write out all of your answers to all of those things. And then I want you to start taking them and turning them into sales sentences. And so the way that we do that is we kind of do it like Mad Libs. And so, for example, if you were creating a webinar, you know, where you're going to sell your product, or if you're creating a live video, you could do it like this. You could create kind of a Mad Libs thing and say, how to get awesome, insert awesome outcome of working with you here, without insert the thing that they're scared that they have to do, even if insert the thing, their insecurity, reason that they think they can't have it. This is key. This is something that I've seen so often in, you know, the online space. And the reason that we see it all the time in different forms is because it works. So let me give you an example using the examples that I've already used. So how to have epic list growth without running Facebook ads, even if you're the queen of procrastination. How to have a crystal clear plan of action and have your most profitable quarter yet, without a strict schedule, even if you're a big picture dreamer, creator, free spirit who can never stick to a plan. So see how I'm taking something from each one of those columns and creating kind of a sales sequence or a sales sentence? I want you to do that too. It will be easier when you have giant lists of like 10 to 15 things on each one of those questions. And what you'll see is that you're able to create by, you know, combining all of them over and over again. You'll be able to create, you know, 10 or 20 sales sentences that you can use when you do Facebook Lives, when you create webinars. You can use them as sentences on your sales pages when you're selling your products or programs. And see how this doesn't have to be salesy at all. You're literally just telling them, hey, this is a really awesome outcome of working with me. And this first question, really awesome outcome of working with me, especially if you're a one-to-one service provider. So what you're selling is your services. I don't see people who have products have as much trouble with this question as when you're kind of selling yourself, essentially. I understand that this can be hard. And so you might have to actually spend a lot of time and clear a lot of your own like mindset blocks out of the way so that you can get clear on what the amazing outcomes of working with you actually are, because I know so many of us actually sell ourselves short here. And so you might want to leave that question till the end so that you can come back to, come back to it and really think, how can I actually solve this problem for my ideal client? How can I help them if their fear and the thing that's keeping them up at night is that they're so overwhelmed and they don't feel like they're living up to their highest potential? Well, I can give them a crystal clear plan of action so that they can put all of their ideas into this plan and bring them to life without feeling overwhelmed. Guys, this is selling, and this is how you become known in your niche, because you are going to constantly talk about the answers to these 4 questions over and over and over again by mad-libbing them in different ways and by combining them in different ways. And you are going to be known as the person who busts through overwhelm, who helps people grow their email list without running Facebook ads, helps people overcome procrastination, even if they're a free spirit. You're going to start to become known as this person because you're just talking about those 4 things. And these are the only questions that you have to ask yourself. That's it. And so the more time you spend on these, the more soul searching you do, the more people you talk to who are your ideal client, you ask them about these things, the more free phone calls you get on to just talk to people about, hey, what's something that you're struggling with in your life right now, or as it pertains to, your offer. What's something that you feel like is really holding you back? And you'll start to hear people's excuses come up. I feel like I can't do it because I have no time. I feel like I can't do it because, I've tried before and it didn't work. Or because I'm a mom, or because, you'll start to notice that there's common themes in people's excuses. And you just ask them about it. And so I want you to spend as much time as possible before the new year getting really clear as it pertains to one of your offers. What is the amazing outcome that they get of working with you in this offer? What is the thing that they're afraid that they have to do in order to get that thing, so that you can tell them, hey girl, you don't have to do that. What's their biggest insecurity right now? The thing that they think is actually going to, prevent them from ever being able to have that awesome outcome, as well as what's the thing right now that they're seriously struggling with and that they're like laying in bed at 3 a.m. worried about. Because if you can talk about that thing, this person will trust you. Because if you can understand that really intimate part of them that they haven't told, their boyfriend, they haven't told their sister, they had barely even told their best friend, because it's like, it's that thing that they just don't even want to talk about. If you can, mention that, they're going to be like, oh God, this girl gets me. She knows how I feel. And so her ears are going to perk up, and she's going to start listening to the things that you are talking about and the thing that you are selling. And I want selling to be really easy for you, because what you're doing is just saying, hey, I can help you get this really awesome thing. And that's why spending a lot of time in that first question, amazing outcome of working with you, is so important, because the more clear you are on what you can provide, the more confident you'll be showing up and telling people, hey, you're going to get this awesome thing, and I know you want it, and I know that I can give it to you. And then you won't feel salesy, because you're going to give them an epic transformation, and you know that that's the solution to the thing that's keeping them up at 3 a.m. Let me know if that helps you guys, because I know as soon as I started breaking down these 4 things, selling became so much easier for me. I was able to just chat with my ideal client, whether I knew if they were on the other side of this phone call or this live video or not. I understood them. I understood some really key things about what they want, and I'm able to just talk about them. It makes it so much easier, so you don't have to feel like you're saying, hey, buy this thing, this is how much it is, and the cart closes tomorrow night. No, you're just saying, hey, I'm opening the doors to solve your problem, and I can only keep the doors open for so long. So if you want this problem solved because you're feeling like this and like this and like this, and if you feel like you can't have that awesome solution because you're worried that you're the queen of procrastination, don't worry, I've got your back, and if you want me to walk you through it, go ahead and join. I don't feel salesy at all. I just feel like I'm providing an opportunity or an offering to the right person. And something that's also really important about sales is being able to kind of cut the cord, as they say, and remove your what's the correct word for this that I'm thinking of? I want you to remove all of your expectations. The more you are putting out the energy of like, I really need this sale, the more people can feel that and the less likely they are to come into your world. If you're just like, hey, I'm starting a party and you can come join if you want, people are more likely to come than like, hey, I really want everyone to come over tonight and please buy my thing. Like we can all feel it, right? Like, you know, it's very, very clear whether you're, you know, intuitive or not, like you can tell when someone's in that energy. So I want you to understand those things about your client and then cut the cord and be like, all right, when I'm really clear enough and I'm speaking to my ideal client properly, getting in front of enough people, growing my email list with all of my, you know, favorite type of people to work with, then when I start talking about these things, they're going to come. And so that's a pretty important part too. That's like a little bonus section. Hey, Kelly is here and she's, I think, asking a question. Let me see. She said, I think you just solved my unknown fear for me. Ooh. See, look, I'm doing it, guys. I've been so terrified of creating a coaching package because it's so much easier to sell to those that know what they're getting. They chose your product, but coaching is so on the spot, so it's scary. What if I fail? What if I don't know how to help this person's individual problem? What if I solve their problem instantly and they still have this many weeks left? And so on and so on. So Kelly, that's really interesting. I think you need to kind of do some maybe journaling on your own self-worth around coaching. And I think this is really, really normal. And as you start working through those amazing outcomes, I want you to write down times in your life that you've already solved that problem for somebody else. So it doesn't have to be a client, but like, let's say you want to, like in your coaching, one amazing outcome that you want to have is help people get through like emotional blocks. Because I know you do kind of like things like that. And so you can just, I want you to write down a few times that you've helped people get through emotional blocks. I want you to also write down like the opposite of the things that you're like worried about. So like write out all those fears. What if, you know, I solve their problem instantly? Well, they're going to be really happy. And guess what? Any normal person, they've got 10 more problems where that one came from. And so you know that you'll continue to show up with them and work through what's next. But also, what if you don't know how to help them with their specific problem? I think the answer to that is that you are committed to helping them find a solution, whether you know right away what that solution is or not. Sometimes a client will come to me with a question that I don't straight up know the answer to, especially like with specific tech. Like one of my clients that I was on a call with today is using Kajabi, and I don't use Kajabi that often, so I didn't know the answer to her question. But as her coach or a strategist, I knew that I was committed to helping her find the solution, and we found it together, and then she still got that amazing outcome. So I think writing out all those fears is going to be really, really helpful for you. And then right next to those fears, writing like, when are times that I've done the opposite of this, or when are times in my life that I've actually helped people through this specific problem before now. And it doesn't have to be your ideal client. It could be your kids, it could be anyone in your life. But just examples of it already being true so that you feel more confident. Because I know a lot of times before you work with your first client, it's kind of like, well, do I actually know how to do this? And it might be nice for you to have a beta testing client so that you get your confidence up a little bit more as well. Because like, it's true, you want to make sure that you actually are going to provide that amazing solution to that person. Let me know if that's helpful, Kelly. Hey, we've got someone else here. Michelle, I think that's how you say your name, girl. I've never seen that name before. It's beautiful. All right, so this is the truth about selling. Well, all you need to know, you don't need to know anything about your product. That is not what you actually need to sell. The very first step are answering these 4 questions, getting really, really clear on them for your ideal client, and then being able to convey them really clearly and really confident to your ideal client, and maybe even creating a program around those specific things. And then selling will become easy, and you will also start to become known for those really specific things in your niche, because you're going to be talking about the same things over and over and over again. And so if you are watching this now, now or watching the replay, I want to know if you know all the answers to these questions, or if you are committed to actually writing out the answers, getting super clear on all of them between now and January, so that if you are launching in January or you're planning to have an Epic 20 VShell, got it. If you're planning to have an Epic 2019, you need to know how to sell your product, right? Like, this needs to be a really core part of all of your strategies. And so I want to know if you're committed to doing this, and if you are, then what date are you going to make it happen by? All right. I will see you guys next week, where I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about how to actually get your to-do list to do the majority of the heavy lifting for you, so that you can have everything that you want in 2019. Until next week, I'll see you guys on Instagram. I'll see you guys on Facebook. If you're in my Facebook group, I'll see you there. If you have any questions about selling, ask me them there as well. All right. See you guys.